Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. Alien abductions can happen pretty much anywhere. They don't just happen in your home when you're laying in your bed and you can't sleep at night and all of a sudden you get paralyzed and you see like multiple gray alien beings walking into your room around your bed. They have big eyes. They don't always happen in that setting. They can happen anywhere. And the story I'm going to talk about today is interesting because this happens in broad daylight while the guy's standing up. He's not even like sitting down or laying down somewhere. He's taken in broad daylight when he's standing up. And he has a very interesting experience. This happened back in 1987. The guy's name was Kevin. His full identity was never revealed in the report for obvious reasons. I mean, a lot of people don't want people to know that they're experiencing this stuff because it's pretty weird. But Kevin lived in a town called Ross River, and he was going to head out on an adventure to go moose hunting for a few days near a place called McPass. So one day, on September 2nd, 1987, he gets on his motorbike with all his gear, and he takes off up this road towards McPass called the North Canal Road. And it's a really crappy day out. It's raining, he's soaked. At one point during the journey, he stops to put some warmer clothes on, then he gets back on his bike, and he gets to this old trailer that's out there in the bush, and that's where he's going to spend the night. So this is just like an old trailer that you'd see at maybe like an oil lease site. You can see a picture of it here. It's just an old trailer thing. Not very fancy, but it'll get the job done. So he spends the night there, loads his gear up early in the morning, and then takes off to get to this area to meet his friends. And he's not on the road for very long before things start to get kind of weird. He says he's putzing along the road, going maybe 10 miles an hour, just kind of looking at the scenery, looking at the landscape, probably trying to see if he can find any moose or signs of any moose. But he gets to an area where he can kind of see a valley and the mountains and everything. It kind of opens up, and he stops to take a piss. So he gets off his bike, he takes a piss, and then he notices that in the distance, in the valley in front of him, there's this weird craft in the sky. He said it was probably like a few hundred yards away, maybe 400 yards away, and it was probably 30 to 40 yards in the air. So it wasn't that high in the air, it was pretty low. And that's one of the things that caught his attention. It was flying really low, it wasn't making any noise. And he said it was rather large. He said it was the size of a DC-3 plane or like a big school bus. And it didn't have any characteristics he noticed that an airplane would have. Like it didn't have wings on it or a fin on the tail or anything like that. It just looked like he described it as looking like a cigar-shaped craft. So he's looking at this thing, observing it, thinking, how weird is that? Like, it's not making any noise, and it's flying super low. And then he realizes, this could probably be a UFO. And he gets kind of scared, and then he crouches down into the grass and tries to kind of hide from it while he's also, peeking over, trying to get a look at this thing. Well, it flies out of sight. It goes behind like a hill and flies out of sight. And this is when Kevin hears a weird noise behind him. So behind him, the way he came, there was a curve in the road, and he couldn't really see what's around the curve, but he heard something back there. He said it sounded like a metallic clunking sound. He described it as being like a car door, or like the trunk lid on a car slamming shut. So he's like, what was that? Like, there must be some people back there that had parked or whatever. So he decided to go check that out and to tell them about the weird thing he just saw in the sky. But when he goes around the corner expecting to see people, what he runs into are two beings of an insectoid nature. They look alien-like, but their heads look like almost like grasshoppers, some sort of insect-like being. They have big bug eyes, and they're also wearing what look like blue jumpsuits. And he sees these things standing there in the ditch, and one of them raises its arm up to its waist, and it's holding this strange flashlight looking device, and it flashes him with it or hits him with this thing. And he said when it did that, it felt like he was just completely sucked out of this reality and everything went dead quiet. He said it was the most quiet he's ever heard, or not heard, Never heard anything that quiet before. And he said he was just like pulled up into the sky basically, and that was it. The next thing he remembers, he's back on the road, scared and shaken as to what he just witnessed. And he's like, I gotta get on my bike and I gotta get out of here. So he plans to go back to that trailer he spent the night at. Well, his motorbike wasn't where he had it parked. it was on the other side of the road. He's like, that's weird. I don't know how that could have happened. I didn't leave the bike there. He gets to the bike and goes to start it, and he notices the keys are in his hands, and he ends up taking off and getting out of there. He goes back to the trailer. Now, the weird thing is once he gets back to the trailer, about a half an hour goes by, and it's already dark out. He had left the trailer early in the morning, didn't travel that far in the morning. That incident occurred where he ran into those beings. And then all of a sudden he knew he was back there on the road, standing there, and his bike was in the wrong spot. Pretty much the whole day had passed by. He's back at the trailer. He decides he's going to make coffee and just kind of try and relax. When he first gets there, he can feel like a faint kind of vibration in everything around him, like in the trailer, and he can hear a faint humming sound. And he also felt like these beings, whatever they were still around and they were close by. You figured they were right outside the trailer, but he didn't look or anything. And after he makes his coffee, he starts having kind of like flashbacks, remembering what kind of stuff happened, and he starts remembering like almost flying over the landscape, like seeing different bits of scenery, like the trees and the mountains and whatnot. And then it kind of goes black, and when he comes to, he's face to face with a being, and it's a gray alien being. It's not one of these insectoid things that captured him while he was on the road. These were like legit gray aliens that you hear in countless other stories. And they told him, well, one of the beings told him, like, it's okay, you don't have to worry. He asked them if they were going to do experiments on him, because he was scared, and that's the first thing that came to his mind, and they said they already did the experiments. So he had no recollection of what they actually did to him, which is good. I guess these creatures asked him if he wanted to see his home planet, and they took him to this little machine on the craft and showed him somehow what looked like a white star of some kind, and he thought it was weird that it was a white star and not like the Earth, which is like blue and green. So I don't know what the meaning is behind that. Maybe they're saying he actually comes from somewhere else. Maybe he's like a hybrid being of some kind. I don't know. That's a thing that's talked about a lot in these alien abduction reports. They have to do with like interbreeding of different humanoid species. It gets really, really weird. But yeah, they asked him if he wanted to see his home planet. They showed him a white star, and they also asked him if he wanted to go on a trip. And he said he felt honored that they asked him. Like, at this point, he didn't really feel uncomfortable with them. After a certain amount of time, he said he almost felt like they were old friends. But they asked him if he wanted to go on a trip, and he said no, it's probably not a good idea to do that right now, which I would probably agree with. I don't really feel like I'd be comfortable taking off and going to another planet somewhere, you know, with these strange beings. But yeah, they asked him that, he refused, and then they said it's for the best that he doesn't remember anything, so they gave him like a cup of this yellow liquid, and they said, you drink this up and you're gonna forget everything, it's for your own good. He's like thinking to himself, no, like this experience is something I want to remember. And they assured him, like, no, like, drink it. You don't want to remember this. He said he took a few sips, and then, before he knew it, he was back on the ground, basically. It's probably why he was having flashbacks and remembering certain things, because he didn't drink very much of this liquid, whatever it was. I wonder if it's possible, like, if you have something like this happen and you remember ingesting something like that, I wonder if you could go somewhere the next day and get tested to see what that was. The metallic sound that he heard on the road before he got taken is very interesting, because in the world of Bigfoot, there is an encounter that happened to a guy named Ron Moorhead. If you've been following the channel for a while, you've probably heard the name Ron Moorhead, and you've probably heard of the Sierra Sounds. And back in the 70s, Ron captured some of the most incredible Bigfoot vocalizations ever recorded up in the Sierra Mountains in California. Well, alongside these strange Sasquatch vocalizations, they also reported hearing other weird sounds and seeing various weird light orbs and light rods in the forest at night. And one of the sounds they described hearing was like a metallic clunking sound that sounded like a car door slamming shut. So I thought that was very interesting, that in Ron's experiences in the Sierra Mountains, he experiences that and all the strange light phenomena, also Sasquatch phenomena. And in this story, he hears that metallic clunking noise as well and describes it as the trunk of a car slamming shut. That must be just to get their attention, you know? Because that's what caused him to go around the bend in the road and to see what was there, you know? It's like a familiar sound. You might think, oh, there's safety there. There's other people. It's really hard to mistake that noise of a car door slamming shut. So it was the perfect lure to get him to go around the bend and to encounter those beings and then get taken. It's a good thing Ron Moorhead never got taken when he was recording those Sierra sounds, because there was all sorts of weird stuff going on. But in the Yukon, there is a lot of reports of cigar-shaped craft. The craft that this guy saw, it looked cigar-shaped. In the artist renditions you can see here that were done by some other people who were investigating this case, you can see it looks like there's a gray kind of mid-section to it, and then the top and bottom are a more green color. Which is cool, because usually when you see UFOs, they're not colored like that. They're usually silver or black, or they're light orbs of some kind. It looked like the hull of this thing actually had color to it. And once he encountered those beings on the ground, he didn't see them again. They weren't on the craft. He only experienced the actual gray aliens on the craft. And usually when people get taken and have abduction experiences like this, they're really traumatic experiences. They're terrifying, and they do really weird stuff to some of these people. Like really, really weird, traumatizing stuff. And in this case, maybe they did do that. He doesn't remember what they actually did to him, what the experiments were. But afterwards, it seemed like he was more relaxed and felt like they weren't really there to harm him. I mean, that's what they told him as well. So it's hard to say, though. There's so many different stories of people getting taken by so many different things. Are they all related? I don't know. There's so many different species people talk about, and it's mostly these gray type beings or insectoid type beings that take people. And are they even extraterrestrial? Are they interdimensional? Are they part of some sort of government black op program? What even are they? Like, we don't even know. We don't even know. Well, what we do know is they have technology that is mind-bending. They can make you forget things, like they can take you and put you back in the same spot without even really knowing what the heck actually happened. You could feel like you're totally safe. You could be out camping feeling like the worst thing out there is a bear, or getting taken by Sasquatch, and then you ended up getting abducted by aliens. So anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to share that story with you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries.